Hi, everyone. So my name is Ashley Templeton. In case you were in our last webinar, I am the graduate assistant for new student and family programs at Fort Hays State University. So this is kind of my job. I get to interact with families and parents and give them a little bit more information about what their student is going through and how they can help them succeed along the way. So that is the topic of this, the October Family Series, actually. This is the first part in our series. It is for freshman parents to kind of help you figure out how can I help my student get a little more career ready. So with that, I do have Karen McCullough here. She's the director of career services, here at Fort Hays State University. So Karen has a presentation for you all and a little bit more information on how to help your student get career ready. So let me pull up her presentation here.
All right, Ashley, thank you so much for the welcome, and thank you all for joining us today and learning a little bit more as parents how you can help your students get career ready. And I know as parents of freshmen, you're probably thinking, oh, we just dropped our student off and now you're talking about life after Fort Hays. And so that's something that I really want to talk about today, is that it's never too early to start planning our next steps and what life is going to look like once your students are ready to graduate and get out into the workforce, or maybe even continue their education. So a little bit about me. I am new to the role as Director of Career Services. I graduated from Fort Hays with an undergraduate degree and started working in the Career Services office. During that time, I got my master's in higher education and decided to take another role at the university and work with international students. I have been doing that for the past 11 years. When the opportunity to get back into the Career Services office opened up this summer, I applied and was hired, and so now I've been in the director role a couple months. And so I'm so excited to be with you today and to talk to you as parents of how you can help your students really start to feel comfortable about the majors they've selected, and then thinking beyond their major, what types of roles is that going to prepare them for their future. So if we look at our graphics on the screen, your students, you dropped them off, they went through orientation, and that's what we're seeing, those students walking through our Jellison Bridge with a nursing sign, and they're so excited to be on campus. And so the next 3, 4, 5 years is preparing them to be our middle picture, that graduate holding a Fort Hays diploma and looking so proud. And then once they get that degree, we want them to be transitioning either to another university, or maybe Fort Hays to get a master's degree, or then maybe out into the workforce. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that today. And again, as parents, how you can support that transition. So we'll get started. And so really thinking about career readiness and talking a little bit about that today, and why does that even matter? Should your students be thinking of that? And today I'd kind of like to talk about that and just maybe talk about some conversations that are happening in our public, at educations or institutions of higher education, and with employers. If you Google, you can find these articles. One was in Forbes, the other in the Chronicle of Higher Education, but there's a lot of information out there of employers and higher education administrators and the public saying, when our students graduate with a college degree, are they even ready for the workforce? And so there's some people who say, no, they're not. They don't have the skills and the abilities they need to be hard workers in our society. And so I've been trying to educate the Fort Hays students on campus of this topic of career readiness and why it matters, and letting our students know that, you know, some people don't think they're going to be ready for the workforce once they get their diploma. And so that's okay. Let's talk about career readiness. And I feel there are some really distinct steps that students can take while they're at Fort Hays to really become career ready or to be prepared. And it does go beyond just getting a degree in accounting or marketing and going to class and working hard there. That's part of it. But there are other experiences and other opportunities that we want students to have at Fort Hays that will help prepare them be a really well-rounded employee. And so when we talk about career readiness, this isn't something that I defined or that Fort Hays has defined. Career readiness and career ready competencies, those are the things that we're going to talk a little bit about next. They were created in 2015, this career readiness definition that we're seeing on the screen. It was created by over 600 employers who recruit university graduates through university recruiting initiatives. And so that could be employers who come to our campus at Fort Hays. We host about 70 employers each semester through a career fair. We also have employers who come on campus and they sponsor mock interviews and on-campus interviews. And so these were the employers who took some assessment data and answered a lot of questions about what they are looking for in potential employees. And through that data, this career readiness definition was created. And then there are 8 corresponding competencies or skills or qualities that employers are looking for in a new graduate. And so we can see career readiness, it's the attainment and demonstration of requisite competencies that broadly prepare college graduates for successful transition into the workplace. So that's our definition. That's foundationally what career readiness is. And so we want to dig today into those skills or those competencies that employers are looking for in a new employee. And so I've been going out and talking to a lot of classes the last couple months. And so I ask the students, what do they think top qualities are that employers are looking for in a new employee? There are 8 of these competencies, and I have yet to have a class identify all 8. We've gotten close. I think about 5 are the most any classes identified. I actually went into our community and talked to teachers, actually high school teachers, and asked them what competencies or qualities they think employers are looking for. And they were only able to identify 4. So as we're chatting down, if you want to take a minute and think about what qualities you think employers are looking for, or maybe you are an employer, or you hire people in the organization that you work for. I bet you have an idea of what some of these qualities are, but I will share these 8 with you. And they're really very common sense. And when I share them with the students, they're like, oh yeah, these make sense. But it's skills such as communication. And this is more than excellent verbal communication. It's really looking at written communication. I think on our campus and a lot of college campuses, we feel like maybe written communication skills, our society is so technological now. We don't write a lot of letters. We communicate through our phones, text messages. We really want to prepare students to not only be well communicators verbally, but also written communication, and then being really great listeners. I just had a conversation with my son and husband yesterday morning about how it wasn't their hearing that was bad, it was their listening skills that they weren't using. And so helping our students understand that part of communication is being a really good listener as well. And then thinking about teamwork and collaboration. You know, a story that I share with the students is I never really thought about when I had my first professional role that I didn't get to pick the employees that were surrounding me. And so we go and we're hired into businesses or industries, and we're working with a group of people that we don't always choose. And so how do we work with them as a team? How do we collaborate together? This is a skill that we can really practice and get a lot of experience on at Fort Hays. And so we want students to do that. We want them to build leadership skills. We want them to be creative and to do problem solving really well. Something that we're really helping Fort Hays students work on is professionalism. What is it like to be a professional person? You know, how do we dress? How do we act? How do we respond to others? And then thinking about productivity and carrying it into a work day. Are we showing up to work on time? When we're at work, are we working on our projects, or are we checking our phones? Are we text messaging? And so really thinking about being a professional person, being very productive. Those are skills that we want students to also develop when they're at Fort Hays. Thinking about application of information technology and what
what are the different types of technology that will be used in their future fields. Every major in every field has specific technology that is utilized. And so during students' time at Fort Hays, we want them to learn that and to take advantage of that. And then thinking about global perspective. The communities that our students are going into and those businesses and industries that they're working for are not just within our local towns or even our state or our region. They are national and international companies, and employers are really wanting students that can come to their teams that have a global perspective, who maybe have had experiences outside of their state or their region, but have lived in other areas or experienced other areas of the United States or even international. And so Fort Hays has a lot of opportunities for students to gain global perspective while they're a student. There are opportunities like the National Student Exchange and International Student Exchange program where students can study somewhere else outside of Fort Hays, either in the United States or internationally, and pay Fort Hays tuition. And those experiences are so valuable for our students because it kind of opens up their perspective to different areas and different regions. And really they can be so reflective when they come back. And it really helps them then understand Hays and Kansas a little bit more after they've been away. And so you may encourage your students to check out some of those opportunities while they're here as well. And then thinking about career management and how well are students writing resumes, cover letters, doing job searches. You know, the statistics are showing us these days that once a student has a job, they may be only with that job a year or two, and then they may be going elsewhere to have a higher role in management, or maybe even switching their industry. And so I try to tell the Fort Hays students that job searching isn't just something they're going to do the senior year of their last year at Fort Hays and then they're done. This is something that they will be continuing throughout their lives. And so really learning how to job search, how to interview, how to be a professional person, and how that all works together into career management. So thinking about your student, how do they measure up in these different areas? And if they haven't had a lot of experience with some of the competencies, that's not a problem. That is what the next 4 years at Fort Hays will entail for them. We really want students during their years at Fort Hays to really think intentionally how they are getting these different skills and these different competencies. Some of them will come from their classrooms, absolutely, but some of them students will gain these experiences by other experiences. Maybe it's working a part-time job. Perhaps it's being involved in student organizations or doing volunteer work. And so we want students to be engaged in the classroom, but we also definitely want students to be engaged outside of the classroom as well. And so those are some different things that you can, as parents, talk to your students about and really encourage them to not only excel in the classroom, but then think about their involvement and kind of what they're doing outside of the classroom as well. So next, helping your students get career ready. And again, I think sometimes we think that this is going to happen the senior year, and that as they're finishing their studies, they're going to start planning and preparing for that job search. And while that's true, we want to take steps those first semesters they're on campus to start thinking of the school that's out in the future. And I talk to students a lot about a job search and compare it to that term paper or that research project that they have in a class. A lot of times students think about getting ready for their career and they're not really sure how to do it. And so I always ask them, what do you do when you're not sure how to do something? And they say, procrastinate. We put it off. We tend not to do it. And I think that's also sometimes what students do with getting career ready is they just put it off. They procrastinate or they don't start on it because they're not sure how to do it. And so that's where my role comes in career services. Our office is here, and this is our job, is to help students learn about the career competencies, to start taking steps their freshman and sophomore year to get them prepared for that career. So let your student know that this isn't something that they need to know or they should know. Our office is here to help them with that information, but they need to start now. now, and we can start having those conversations today. When we look at the competencies, have your student really focus on 1 or 2 a semester to get experience in. If we think about all 8, it can be really overwhelming. But if we kind of break those down and put together a plan, students can work on a competency 1 or 2 a semester, and by the time they're a senior, they have really gained a lot of experience in all of the competencies. But it takes some time and it takes some planning to think about that now as a freshman. Really, during the students' first semesters at Fort Hays, we want them to explore. Everything about Fort Hays is new. The environment is new. They have a lot of responsibility. Living away from home is different. And so it's all exciting, but it's also a little scary too. We want them to take this time to really explore and dive into their major and really reflect. And students, sometimes when I say self-reflection in presentations, they all start to look a little uncomfortable and like, oh, I don't want to do that. But really, reflection is a key to knowing who they are, knowing who they want to become, and knowing what types of things they do that they enjoy. And those are the things that we want to build on their majors and help them find careers doing those things. And so they need to explore and they need to know themselves. And so those are the things that we want students to do their first semesters at Fort Hays. While they're doing that, they can prepare for career success along the way. Again, it sounds like it's a big task and that it's this big job to get career ready. And it kind of is. But they're here for 4 or 5 years. And so if we do a little bit every semester, it isn't such a big, daunting task at the end. And so it takes time and it takes focus, but the rewards will be worth it. When we have seniors who have done a lot of interviewing and they have multiple job offers that they get to then decide and evaluate which ones are best for me and my family, that's where the rewards come in. And that's really where we want students to get to. And so again, asking for help is part of what we want students to do. Our office is here to help, and we can facilitate this process of exploring and finding and preparing, but we need students to come in and see us. And that's where you as parents can encourage your students to come in and not to put off doing these steps, but really take a little bit of time every semester to start preparing. So let's talk about those steps. And really the first step to getting career ready is that exploration step. And so here at Fort Hays, I work in the Career Services office, but we have another office who provides services on our campus, and that's through ACE, the Academic Advising and Career Exploration Center. And so through our ACE at Fort Hays, students can research majors. ACE helps with academic advising. They facilitate exploratory advising. So if your student hasn't picked a major and they're an exploratory student, they will be advised through the staff in academic advising and career exploration. That's the time we want students to really research different majors if they haven't chosen a major. Sometimes students choose a major and they start taking those major classes, or they take a class or two and they realize, oh, this is not for me. This is not what I thought it was, or, you know, the way that they're teaching and they're learning in this field, it doesn't match up with my interests or the way that I learn, and that is okay. And so if we look down at our good to know statistic, about 80% of students in the United States end up changing their major at least once, according to the National Center for Education Statistics. And on average, a college student may change their major at least 3 times over the course of their college career. These are some statistics from 2013. I think anecdotally, talking to students, we may have a student who never changes their major. Quite honestly, that is becoming more and more rare these days. I think these statistics are still pretty true. At least students typically at least change their major once. It can be sometimes as much as 3 times. I know personally, I changed my major 3 times when I was an undergraduate student. I think we also have students who come into our office and they've changed their major 7 or 8 times. And so there's no right or wrong answer to that. those are just students who are really going through this exploratory phase, and they are trying to find that major that really fits them. And quite honestly, some of the majors are very similar. And so students may be changing between business marketing and maybe business finance because they're very similar. They're using a lot of the same skill sets. And so students are trying to find that perfect fit for them. And really, we want them to do that. And so another great option for students to really dig into through the ACE website, fhsu.edu/AACE, if they go to Career Exploration tab, there's an option called What Can I Do with a Major In? And this is a really great resource for your student to dig into because it looks at the different majors that Fort Hays offers, and it will have a listing of different job titles that those students will be qualified for with a degree in that area. And so sometimes students come in and they say, I'm an accounting student, or I have a degree in marketing, but I don't really know what I can do with that major. But what I can do with a major in resource is invaluable because it can help kind of connect the dots for students to see what a major means and then what different career paths could be for that field. And so they can start to see some job titles and maybe start feeling like, okay, well, I know that, a personal trainer is going to be doing some exercise science work. And so they can start making those connections. They can also see if they pull their major list and they look at job titles and they're like, oh, I don't think I like any of these or none of these interest me. Then maybe we need to go back in and see if there's a major that fits with them better. And so really talking to your student about the self-discovery that they're doing and really looking at different paths through the Career Exploration Office is a great idea. Students can also do career exploration appointments with the ACE staff. They can meet with a staff member through a series of 3 different appointments where they take different assessments to do some reflection, to find out what are strengths for your student, and the staff at ACE can help guide them to some specific majors that align with their personality. So that may be something that your student wants to dig into. There's also a class that students can take specifically for career exploration. It's an 8-week course, and it's very guided discovery on how to discover the interests that they have and then how to match them with different majors. And so there are so many options on our campus for students to really explore, and that's what those first semesters are at Fort Hays. So as parents, how can you help facilitate these discussions with your student? And again, recognizing that maybe your student came with a major in mind, and now that we've kind of passed that midterm break, they might be thinking, I selected this major, but now I'm not really sure that this is fitting well with me. So they may be looking at reselecting a major. Please remember to be patient and supportive as your student finds their wings. It's so common for all students at every level of freshman to senior at multiple points along their path, really feeling very confident in their decision. And then the next time you talk to them, they may feel very unconfident. And so I think that's very normal as students go through this college path, is that some days they feel strong and they feel like they can do this. And then the next day, maybe a class got tough or they missed an assignment or things just aren't going well for them. And so then they really start questioning themselves. Remember to be patient and supportive. Be so encouraging. And remember, as a parent, you have some resources. This is a great resource. The other family resources that you've received, dig into those and help your students know what supports are here at Fort Hays for them. There are so many of us who are employed here, and our whole jobs are to help your students. That's all we do, is we are here to help your students. And so encourage your students to reach out to us. I don't think we're scary individuals. We promise we won't hurt them or make fun of them. We'll be very encouraging and supporting and helping them find their wings as well. So please reach out and remember to do that. Again, encourage your student to explore options. If they're just not really sure what path to take, going to ACE and signing up to do some exploratory sessions with them is very much an appropriate step for them to take. And then also, each major typically has some introductory courses that students can enroll in. So it might be great the next time they're picking their classes is to enroll into an introductory course or take a gen ed class of that area interest so they can see if delving into that area may be something more that they want to do. Sometimes students find out their interests based on getting involved in campus activities or even having part-time jobs. We feel like students working on our campus is a great opportunity. Students can learn so much, not only about themselves, but also about universities, about different departments on campus. And so maybe having a part-time job at Fort Hays in a different office can help them really find their areas of interest and dig into that a little bit more. And also remember to keep an open mind. Sometimes as parents, and I'm a parent of a couple young ones, so I haven't gotten to this point yet, but I know with my young son, sometimes I feel like I know what the best plan for him is, and I have to remember to keep an open mind and that I need to trust him to find his own path, to make mistakes and to kind of figure it out. And so when your student has selected a major, and if you're a little uncertain of that, trust that your student has done the research or confirm with them that they've talked to a faculty member, they've researched what it's going to take to be part of the major, and that once your student has made that selection, trust that they've researched their choices and that they will find success in that. Next, we really want students to prepare for success. And this can also happen while they are exploring. Students do not need to have a major selected to start thinking about a resume. Most students have created a resume in high school, but we really want them to update it. I tell students that the resume is never finished, that it's a living, breathing document that they want to update every semester. By the time your student is a junior or a senior, we really don't want much, if any, high school information on that resume. We want to transition that resume to the awesome things that they are doing during their time at Fort Hays. So it's always great for students as a freshman to start already updating their resume and adding their degree field, or if they don't have one, just that they're exploratory student at Fort Hays, and then talking about the involvement that they're having. If they're part of a learning community, they are being involved in different activities and experiences at Fort Hays, and they can put on their resume. Perhaps they've gotten a job when they came to campus. We can put that on their resume as well. And I know for some students it may seem a little early, but we want them to start thinking about practicing their interviewing skills, building that professional network. Once they start applying for internships and full-time jobs, they will need to identify folks in their lives who can serve as a professional reference. Some of those individuals, it could be their advisor, faculty members, past and present employers, but they need to be people at Fort Hays. They can also include a reference or two perhaps from high school, but by their time they're a senior, we really want relevant and recent folks on our campus who can speak to their skills and their abilities. And so building that professional network and meeting those faculty members starts as a freshman. Fort Hays is great because our faculty to student ratio is very small. Your student will know their faculty members. They will have opportunities to meet with their advisor. But sometimes as a parent, you may need to encourage your student to go have a face-to-face conversation with them. And that's really important. The faculty member are our students' biggest cheerleaders, but students have to take the initiative to go in and meet with them. I know sometimes it seems scary, but once they do it and they'll feel comfortable with it, they'll be meeting with their faculty members all the time. Then we also want to, at this point in a student's career, is let them know that their social media really matters. And so I think as parents, this is important to have these discussions with your children as well. Some statistics that we've found about social media, that it's so exciting. 73% of young students, young graduates are finding jobs through social networking, which is great. This is opening up so many opportunities for students to meet with potential potential employers outside of our local and regional networks, and that's awesome. Some employers are less likely to hire candidates if they don't see a social media profile out there for them. And then our statistics are showing that employers are using LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. So you might want to check in with your student to see what social media platforms they're using as well. Something else that's really important to think about is what your student is posting on social media. And so you can see some more statistics about this. And so we really want students to think about their social media path and that it is really professional. And so some things employers don't want to see on social media, they do not want to see any type of bad mouthing a roommate, a family member, a coworker. 36% of hiring managers are passing on candidates because of posts where students are bad mouthing others. And during my short time in this role, I've had many employers tell me that they absolutely are, when they're hiring part-time students for a part-time role, for interns, for full-time positions, the first place they go is Google, and they are Googling to see what they can find out about students. Employers from all different industry sections have told me they have not hired candidates, or they have fired people they've hired because of social media posts. So this is something that is happening, and we need to start educating our students about. We also want to make sure that students aren't posting images or language that could communicate poor judgment. We don't want any bullying being going on through social media. And really what this does, it creates a contradictory message for employers. When a student puts together their resume and their job search materials, it's going to show that they're a great candidate. And then when an employer gets out and Googles them and they see a contradictory message, if they have other great candidates and their social media profiles are clean, they're going to hire those students. And so when we're talking about posting images, we want to make sure that our images are really family friendly, and that they don't include alcohol or clothing choices that have too much skin. And I always tell students it only takes 2 to 20 seconds for someone to make a first impression. So we want to make sure that our social media is done really well. If social media is done well, it can be an extension of all the great things that students are doing in college. It can show their volunteer work. It can show the projects that they're doing in classes and really show an employer that potential. And so please, as parents, talk to your students about appropriate social media usage. If students want to post things that may be questionable, if they do that, create a private group so that information is not being shared publicly. And then I'm telling students that once they get hired, they still need to be really professional in their social media, because companies have ways and they have different searches set up so that anytime someone is mentioning their company in a social media post, they are being notified. And I've had employers tell me that they have fired current employees because of what they have posted on social media about their company. And so something to remember, and as your students are new at Fort Hays, they have a lot of opportunity to do this right. There are applications out there that can scrub social media as well. And so students can check into Clear, Reppin' Up, or Scrubber. Those are different applications that students can put their social media profiles into those, and it can help scrub any pictures or content that could be questionable. So something that's good to know, and please have those conversations with your student about. So again, when we're thinking about preparing for that success, as a parent, knowing those resources that are available and sharing those with your student is so important. Talk to your student about the importance of becoming a professional person. And at college, we're very relaxed and things are sometimes not professional, but encourage your students to take advantage of the opportunities to become professional. Again, a lot of student organizations, part of their mission is to help students develop these professional skills. And so maybe getting involved with a student organization or even a sorority or fraternity can help with that. Getting a job, again, will help them work on their professional skills. And then when they're thinking about having conversations with their faculty member, or they're emailing their faculty member, they can write really well done professional emails or have those professional conversations. And so talk to your student about the importance of starting to develop that professional presence. And then also have your students reflect with you on those skills that they're gaining in the classroom through those co-curricular activities and thinking about those competencies and reflecting on how those are going to prepare them and help your students start to connect the dots of what they're learning in the classroom, how that is going to transition to a future career. I think sometimes students, when they're in the trenches and they're going to class every day, they don't always connect the dots that the group project where they are working in a team is actually developing that teamwork competency. And so you can guide them through some of those conversations to help them put that all together. And again, please check in with your students and encourage them as they begin to prepare them for life after Fort Hays. Starting early is a key to success, and you can really be a cheerleader for your students in that. And then thinking as your students continue through their different stages and through their sophomore and junior year at Fort Hays, we really want to think about experience that they're gaining in their major field. And so this is gaining those career-ready competencies through experiential learning. And that's really thinking of how your student is getting learning in their major areas, in the classroom and outside of the classroom. And so some of those ways that students can learn is through student organization involvement, study abroad or study away, which we've talked a little bit about, volunteer or service learning activities, and then doing research. Internships is another great way that students can take the skills that they're learning inside the classroom and apply them in a hands-on manner. And so some statistics in our good to know section: 60% of college graduates who completed a paid internship received at least one job offer 6 months after graduation. When we look, 37% of college graduates who completed an unpaid internship received at least one job offer, and that matches really closely to 36% of college graduates with no internship experience received at least one job offer. So our statistics are showing that if a student has the opportunity to do a paid internship during the summer or a break period, those students are having a higher rate of receiving a job offer 6 months after graduation. This information is coming from a first destination survey that is carried out through the National Association of Colleges and Employers and surveying those recent college graduates. So how can you help your student gain experience? I know as a parent, you can really help your student to think outside of the box when they're planning a break period or summer jobs. Sometimes students, I think, go back to that routine that's very comfortable or what they know, and that could be coming home and spending time with you and being part of your family. And not that those are bad things, but students may want to think about taking those break periods and gaining skills. And maybe that's in your community, but maybe it's also going somewhere else during a break, participating in a community service project. Here at Fort Hays, we have alternate spring breaks or break periods where students, instead of coming home for spring break, they can go and they can provide community service to an area of the United States who is needing help. And I'm guessing that Florida or Houston or California are going to be on the list of our alternate break locations just because of the natural disasters they've had there. But the experience that students get during those break times are invaluable and really help them learn a lot about themselves and create skills that they will carry into their future career. Let your student know it's okay to be away for breaks or the summer if it really is. I think I personally never took the opportunity to have an internship, and I think had my parents said, it's okay, I probably would have maybe explored that option a little bit more. But I kind of felt that going home to that familiar routine and being part of the family was expected of me or something that I needed to do. And so I think as parents, if you feel like this would be a good step for your child, encourage them to maybe look for some opportunities where maybe they wouldn't be coming home as much, but getting some experience that really could help them learn outside of the classroom. And then of course, cheer them on and support them as they need this, as they explore for those internships, study abroad, or research opportunities. My quote, behind every child who believes in himself is a parent who believes first. And so just being your child's greatest cheerleader and encouraging them that exploring for internships and study abroad can be a scary experience, but they are capable. They have the skills to do this, and that they can succeed. And so just cheering them on and supporting them as much as you can will definitely help your student. And then finally, our last step is really thinking about those last couple semesters at Fort Hays, helping your student achieve, putting it all together. They have spent 3 or 4 years at Fort Hays working on great skills inside and outside of the classroom. And now it's the time to just put it all together and start on that job search. Here in the Career Services Office, we have a lot of different support for students who are looking to do a job search through some different opportunities that we have going global, Careers for Tigers, different programs that we offer that students can help connect to jobs and internships and employers through. Also, they can do a lot of networking on our campus and they never have to leave. Again, as I mentioned, Fort Hays offers on-campus career fairs where I tell students this is the only time in your life that you will be at a place that employers are coming to talk to you. They can have over 70 employers that they get to meet with, and who these employers are coming because they want to hire Fort Hays graduates, and that's really cool. We know once we leave campus and we're doing a professional job search, it's on us to find employers and to network. But at Fort Hays, we bring the employers to the students, and all they have to do is put on a nice outfit, get a resume together, and go and have some conversations with those employers. So they can do a lot of networking on our campus. I hope to this spring also offer a couple virtual career fairs for our students that could connect them to employers who cannot make it to Hays campus, and to really open up those opportunities for our students. Interviewing is a huge part of becoming a professional person, and so we want to help students practice interviewing. So we offer every semester mock or practice interviews where our employers come, they donate a day of their time, and they sit down and have these practice interviews with students, and the students benefit so much from these practice experiences, and it really gives them confidence then when they are out and they are interviewing on their own. Something that's kind of newer in the job search field is online interviews. And so we also offer opportunities for students to practice online interviewing. And we also have interview rooms that if your student ever has an online interview for a reason, they can come and use our private, quiet, professional room to do those online interviews. We hire a lot of folks on our campus, and we do a lot of online interviewing, and in the space that people select when they're doing an online interview is really important. And so we have a space here in our office that students just need to come prepared to have great conversations, and we take care of the rest. So it's good to know, and you can share with your student, that each fall and spring Fort Hays offers career fairs that connects employers to Fort Hays students, and that hopefully this spring we will be hosting a couple virtual career fairs as well. So as our time is getting wrapped up, I just want to really highlight some of the ways that career services can help your student. We can help students preparing that resume and cover letter. We have major specific resume examples and really specific cover letter examples that students can review and then tailor to match their needs. We're finding that students don't necessarily know how to write a professional business letter. I'm old, and so when I learned how to type on a typewriter, we spent days typing professional business letters and learning how to write those. This is a skill that students aren't learning in high school or in college as much. And so they're not even sure how to format or how to write a professional business letter. And so that's what our office can help, is writing those letters and providing examples, practice interviewing again as well, hosting those career fairs, helping students really learn what professional dress is, and how to interview, and really working on that professional image. At Fort Hays, we have a Tailored for Tigers closet. So if students have left their professional clothes at home, or if they don't have professional clothes yet, they don't have to worry about going out and buying a professional outfit for the career fair or for an interview. At Tailored for Tigers, our clothing closet, students can check out an interviewing suit or a professional outfit, wear it for their occasion, and when they're done, they can bring it back. And so we want to make sure that students are having access to professional type clothing when they are needing that. So our office is helping facilitate Tailored for Tigers as well. Part-time job listings. So students, while they're here at Fort Hays, they may need a part-time job. Our office facilitates a part-time job program in the Hays area, not on-campus jobs, but jobs off campus in our community. So they can come and check that out. It's called Jobs for Tigers. Then we also help post internships and full-time positions for employers. And then we have the online interviewing resources and a room for students to take advantage of. Couple more comments about some of our services. Careers for Tigers. Students can post their resume, search and apply for full-time jobs and internships, and sign up for on-campus interviews through that tool. And then Going Global. Sometimes students don't want to work in Hays, Kansas, and that's okay. And so our Going Global website has really extensive city job searches for all major U.S. cities: Wichita, Kansas City, Denver, Dallas, Chicago. If students want to go do an internship or a job search in those U.S. major cities, they can do that. Or if they want to work internationally, Going Global has an extensive international city cultural and career guide that students can check out. And all of that information is found on our website, which is listed below. So I really appreciate you taking some time to learn as parents how you can help your students get career ready. When you're having those conversations, please remember the Career Services Office. We are located in Sheridan Hall 214. We have a website, fhsu.edu/careers. You can email us as well as careers@fhsu.edu. But we are here to help your students really think about becoming a professional person, developing those career-ready competencies, and then putting together a resume, job search, and really deciding what life after Fort Hays is going to look like for them. So I could take some questions now if there are any that are out there, and if not, I really thank you for taking some time to learn about this important next step for your student, and please feel free to contact the Career Services Office with any questions that you may have.
Perfect. Well, if there are no questions, then I think that Karen is always available if you need anything. If you ever have any questions, please feel free to email her. My email is also all over our website and our Facebook page. So if you need to get in contact with me, I can get in contact with Karen or anyone in Career Services, and they can definitely help with your student success. So I just want to say thank you so much for coming to our first family webinar in the October Family Webinar Series. We are so excited to host also tomorrow and on Thursday. Tomorrow we're doing one for sophomores and juniors, and on Thursday we're going to be doing one for seniors. So if you want to tune in for any of those, please feel free to do so. Thank you so much for joining us, and stay tuned on the Fort Hays State University Family Engagement Programs Facebook page. We will be posting information about how you can see those other two webinars after they've happened, as well as any other things that we do for families, like our family newsletter, as well as all of the rest of the webinars for the rest of the school year. So thanks so much for joining once again.